Hello world, it's John Pinto, your bon vivant, roving realtor, BMW enthusiast, video blogger, home chef, and I am here with Chris Allen from Nelson Staffing.
Indeed, sir. Yep.
Chris, tell us a little bit about yourself and
Sure.
Nelson Staffing, but let me let everybody know why I'm talking to you. They're figuring, why
Yeah.
is John talking to this extremely good-looking guy? He must have
Absolutely.
something to say. Chris is, for lack of a better word, a recruiter in the North Bay, and it has been my observation that certain industries are just getting hammered, while others are actually prospering and hiring. So I thought I would partake of Chris's knowledge base and see how some of the employees in the North Bay who have been employed by industries that are getting hammered can repurpose their skill sets and maybe direct to places that are hiring. So, Chris, first tell us a little bit about Nelson Staffing.
Sure. Yeah. Our 50th year, so we're pretty proud of that. We're kind of born and raised in the North Bay. Gary and Marcia Nelson out of Sonoma, so a lot of people will know them over there. They're cited all the time, et cetera, but well known up north. And we staff, as you say, recruit, fine, it's okay, is in all sectors, entry level to CEO. If you are struggling or have a pain point around trying to find any kind of key individual or role, give us a call. We're here to help. We're non-exclusive. It doesn't hurt until you like who we have.
Great.
So,
I watched the Nelson talks.
yes.
That was very robust.
Yeah.
You had who was the lady who was hosting? Do you know who that was?
Shaw Group.
Yeah.
I forgot her first name, but she's from the Shaw Group.
Oh,
out of
well, that's
Sacramento.
Jennifer Shaw, the attorney.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
she was
yes,
one
yes.
of the panelists. Then you had the Nelson person who knew the dynamics.
Alex Chamorro, and Chandra was the one hosting from
Yeah.
Nelson as well, and of course Rob Eiler,
The economist
yes.
from Sonoma State. That was robust. If somebody wants to subscribe to the Nelson Talks,
Yeah, absolutely.
should they just contact you to subscribe?
Let's do it. I was thinking about that. I thought you might bring that up. Let's do a couple things. We'll put the link, if possible. It was recorded, so anybody that wants to watch it, we can link it through this. Absolutely get in touch with me for anything, and I can give you that info later, as well as my mobile, 707-400-9400. Give me a call, email as well, we can put in there, but C. Allen, ALLEN, at nelsonstaffing.com. He's pretty amazing. He never disappoints, and in such a chaotic time, he distills all these graphs, all these different trends and numbers and metrics into just brass tacks. So I love that.
Let's go from the ridiculous to the sublime here. Let's talk about the industries that are getting hammered, okay?
Sure.
All right,
Yeah.
so we're in the hospitality in the
Yeah.
North Bay.
Beautiful.
We're not hospitality North Bay, so you got
Absolutely.
restaurants,
Yep.
you've got bars
Yep.
getting just hammered.
Yes.
Who else would you include in the hammer category?
Anybody who's 100% indoor, right? So the indoor restaurants, the bars, as you say, anybody who has outdoor facilities in any way
Is better.
Is better. I wouldn't necessarily say great, but is doing okay. We learned a lot from the first shelter in place, and there was a lot of new everything for everybody then. Thankfully, knock on wood, I think a lot of people have figured it out as we are sitting here outdoors, safe, distant, masks as you come in, etc. So hospitality improving. Hopefully we don't regress too much in terms of shutting down. So any tourism base, and then of course as well, hotels.
Right.
Hotels and travel. Just everybody's locking down. I'm sure we all see the ads about buy this van, this car, this RV in Travel America, right?
They're having an explosive time right now selling RVs.
They are, yeah. But
Yeah.
the hotels then and the airfare is where it's struggling, because everybody's either staying in their RV or
Limousines
camping
are getting hammered.
Yeah,
Uber
yeah.
drivers are getting hammered.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered who's getting hammered. So let's go right to those people who are getting hammered. How can they repurpose their skill sets?
Yeah.
And where in the North Bay can they seek employment? Who's
Sure.
not getting hammered?
Yeah, sure. So I would recommend they reach out to me. I can make sure they find the right kind of location or home or wherever they need to be to find those roles. As we were talking on the phone before this, a lot of roles that really seem to be jumping right now in category is sales, HR, and marketing. And I think we might have just touched on that in our last video. I don't recall, but it is still true. Light industrial, heavy industrial. So
Thank you,
of course, up in the north here, we're very light industrial with the wine, of course, but we're also quite heavy industrial with manufacturing. Think of somebody big like a Coke or
Jelly
food.
Belly.
Jelly Belly. It's Budweiser's over there as well, right? So there's a lot of big industry, and they all need the roles that we're talking about. But the one I was going to add is anything to do with maintenance, engineering, fixing, repairing, all of these things, all the ancillary
Building and working in a fab.
Yep, plant operators, the PLC people that know how to program these things. They're all essential businesses, and they've still, fortunately, been moving and humming along through all of this. And we, personally, at least myself, see the sales, HR, and marketing as the businesses that are looking to take advantage of the opportunities that are here right now to grow their market share and to capitalize if they can. And so, we have a lot of clients asking us to help with those roles. So if you have those experiences, those skill sets, get in touch. Absolutely.
Okay, very good. Now, is there telecommuting, telework
Sure.
for people that live in the North Bay that want to remain in the North Bay and maybe take advantage of some kind of labor shortage in San Francisco, the East Bay, the South Bay, or anywhere in the country for that matter?
Well, this is our favorite topic, isn't it? This is how we met.
Yeah.
Actually, our first coffee over the idea that you don't need to live in the Bay to work for the Bay and enjoy our climate and all the rest. And as you, I think, said, this has brought it all to the forefront, right? So we are absolutely helping a lot of businesses with remote working, remote workers. We can go through the onboarding process of bringing any of you onto the Nelson team to start being able to submit you for jobs remotely, the documentation remotely. Even actually then the handover, onboarding, and training remotely. So we're filling roles along those lines and keeping it, what's the term, contactless, I guess is our fancy term, right? So yes, a lot of that's up to the various clients and what their rules, their processes are. Some are nervous about how to do training without face-to-face, and so they're slowing down, but others are moving forward and saying, look, we got to grow. We still got to do this. We still have a need. They are filling those.
Okay, so let's talk about the mechanics. Let's list, I can't help myself. I mean, I went to Catholic school. My mother used to feed people off the street. I can't help but focus on who is most in need right now. Who is most in need? Bartenders, waitresses, line cooks, professional chefs. Who else are you finding is most in need right now?
It would go back to a lot of that essential work. The wine country is still moving forward. Mother Nature doesn't stop, as you know.
Yeah.
Harvest is fast approaching, so all of these grapes and the vines and everything are going to need to be processed and turned into our lovely wine. So all roles there. The last 2 years harvests were phenomenal. So we have a lot
people
of wine.
who are working to harvest still have work.
Absolutely.
Right. So what I'm saying is, for people that are watching this video, because they are unemployed, their bartenders in the bar has closed down. Their waitresses in the restaurant has closed down. Their line chefs, line cooks, whatever. So my question to you is, what other Uber drivers? Okay. What other workers? What other segments have you noticed are getting hammered? Who should pay attention to this video? Who are we reaching out to as potential recruits for Nelson Staffing to place someplace else? Who else is there?
Sure. Well, as we are seeing, because we're sat here, the bartenders, hospitality, etc., it is opening up again. So we have quite a few orders for those still.
Oh, that's good. So they could be re-engaged with a different employer.
If they're just not finding success in wherever their circle of clients or their network or whoever it is that they know has a need, and maybe they haven't opened, because everybody is a little different in how they're opening. But what's nice about Nelson, at least, is that we touch so many. I think last year we serviced 105 wineries. Right, so think of all those tasting rooms, all those sellers, all those customer service reps, all those sales and marketing people, all needed. And so if you're struggling in those roles, we can probably help you still in those roles
find a more prosperous environment.
Now, If not that, or if you don't want that, I go back to those top categories. If you have any kind of sales experience, retail sales experience, even if it was in a shop front, we could look at that. We could use that. People are trying to figure out how to do that selling, how to get their market share to grow. Same with the marketing, same with the HR, and actually I'll add one, customer service. So like, hi, hello, this is Chris.
Yeah.
How can I help you?
Yeah.
Wine clubs, all these kinds of things. Other industries still need customer service that are closed. Insurance, all the different people, if you think of, who just have offices and are reaching out to their clients.
So let's get a little Zen Buddha here, okay? In my time on the planet, and it's getting to be 69 years this October.
Wow.
You hope you look this good when you're 69. You hope you
I'm
look
not.
You hope you look this good when you're
I'm not gonna
39,
get in
Chris.
trouble with you.
So let's get a little Zen Buddha. When you're getting hammered, you're laid off, rent is due, income stream is stopping. The tendency could be to dwell on the fear of everything that can happen, roll up in a ball in a corner, be stuck in neutral. The world is inertia and momentum. You're either in action, moving, momentum, or inertia, you're standing, dwelling on everything horrible that can happen.
Yeah.
So let's give some guidance to people where they can start taking some action to improve their lot in life.
For sure.
Tell us a little bit about the onboarding at Nelson. How does that work? Do they text you? Do they email you? Do they call you? Carrier pigeons? What do they do?
We haven't added that yet. I personally, through connections like this, always love to speak to anybody that comes to me first. My role within Nelson is normally to go find the roles that we're talking about, deal with the businesses, and open up those opportunities for people. But whenever it's something like this, I'd like to talk to those potential associates, right? Those potential staff one-on-one. So very first thing, again, please reach out. We'll have a good chat. We'll talk some more about whatever your particular circumstances are. But that's number one, is meet you.
Okay, so hold that thought. Contactless, FaceTime, Zoom,
you name it.
Microsoft Teams,
Google Meet, whatever these days.
Google Meet. What's your preferred video conference?
I actually really like Zoom, and I am an Android phone user, so it's hard to do whatever is iPhone.
FaceTime.
FaceTime, thank you. Yes, but I'll make it work. Like, if that's what they need to have, I'll borrow a coworker's iPhone. I'll find one. Like, again, I'm just happy to meet them, make the acquaintance, and talk about what they're looking for. But that's number one.
And would you say the preponderance of your onboarding interviews are video conferencing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't do in person. Absolutely don't still.
Okay.
Everything's contactless. So you would come in, you'd meet me, you'd then meet one of our recruiters who would have you fill in some forms. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we still can't get rid of forms.
Well, you got to fill out an application. You got to know what you're working with.
I know.
All right, so let's go to number 2. Okay, so in person,
Yep.
you talk to them, you say, I think I can help this person.
Yep.
What's next?
Get them in touch with a recruiter. They'll meet them as well. They'll fill this form in, just like you say, it's just an application. We will then run, because we do, I forget, our E-Verify, so we have to make sure that you're legally documented to be able to work in the country. We run that. You then do have, they call it an interview. I kind of call it a chat. It's just to get to know you. We don't place people without getting to know you. So the recruiters will have a chat/interview, get you on the system. Depending on different roles, the clients might require certain background checks, etc. But that now depends on where we're looking to place you. So once you've done the application and once you've met the recruiter virtually, like we're doing right here, and we've done the document, you're in. You're there.
Feel free to drink your coffee.
We'll start offering roles to you. It's that simple. It can be very, very quick. We have met people and had them starting in week. It's hard to do maybe in day, but probably we could say days if you want to be really urgent.
Yeah, so let's hold that thought for a minute.
Yeah.
When people come in, what percentage of your clients that come in wind up with a job they think they were going to wind up with versus you surprising the hell out of them and saying, how about this?
Yeah.
And they're surprised and it's a match. How does that work out?
A lot. What you're describing happens a lot. It really does. In fact, I don't remember if we've ever covered this on one of your videos, but that's how I ended up at Nelson. I was a candidate that came in and said, "Hey, I don't know what's here. How can you help me? What kind of jobs are here?" Rather than me going point to point and application to application, tell me what's here. And they looked at my resume. I was a .com guy, so a little different to what you're seeing today. And they weren't sure they could place me. Thank you, that's fine. I'm driving home, but followed up before I even got home and said, "Hey, why not join Nelson?" So surprised me. Didn't expect that. Here I am. We're doing this lovely video, etc. So happens all the time, even to people such as myself. What I would say is it does require being open to that. You know, there is so much here that's not obvious. That's not just wine. That's not just related to the wine industry, even though it is the biggest industry really here. That if they're open to it, I think they will be surprised. And I'm sure we talk about this every time, but just to reiterate, there are life-sustaining, wonderful careers here. You know, you can raise your family up here. You can make decent money. You can get them to college and have a car and a house payment and all the rest, and have a good life up here. If you're willing to maybe be some of that flexible, because it's not the Valley.
So you do the video interview. You have them fill in the onboarding application. Then what's next?
Then you're going to start talking to the recruiting managers about what roles are there, and hopefully I'm out hustling the kind of role that you're actually going to want to hear about. So it's that simple.
So you're saying after they on board with your application,
yes,
you're doing a mix and match right away.
Absolutely, matchmaking, exactly.
Oh,
and the reason for that subtle delay in the interview / chat is we do want to get to know you. Where are you coming from? What are you looking for? What stage of life are you at? You know, what goals do you have? And that sticks with the recruiters. And you know, John, all the time it will be in one of our daily meetings talking about both the orders and the people, and just kind of by talking about everybody that we've met and everybody that we've interviewed or chatted with, etc. Suddenly, do you know who would be great for that? You know, John for this or that. So we don't just throw a bunch of resumes at every role and see who looks good. We actually think about
there's personal intervention.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Personal intervention. Yes,
and more so than ever, we're seeing those mid-level to upper-level kinds of roles as well. Like I said, sales, marketing, HR, customer service, mid-tier and up.
Yeah.
We placed a CEO role not too long ago up here, so you know they all happen. Maybe the CEO one's a little less normal than the other ones, but they all churn.
So despite, you know, all the dire economic news that's been coming out in the projections, and I did notice that the Economist had some positive things to say, although that's subject to further shutdowns and people behaving better.
Okay. 6 feet apart, John.
Yeah, right.
Let everybody know.
I think we're about 6 feet apart. Yeah, so you're pretty positive, and I guess there are still jobs available for people to apply for, huh?
Absolutely. I did a quick check for you before we came out here. I have to be a little cautious that I know everybody might be able to watch this. So we have many tens of job orders open.
Call it dozens.
Sure.
Dozens.
And we have many executive kind of direct hire, mid-level roles open, and we are absolutely preparing for harvest and this wine season like crazy. And the wineries are nervous. They're looking. The fact of the matter is, staying apolitical, but the fact of the matter is that the change in the visa statuses for a lot of people that come to be interns during harvest has been blocked. So they can't come in. So if anybody's in any way interested about what it takes to turn juice into wine and grapes into juice and all of that, you know, give me a call and we can see whether or not there's an opportunity for something there.
Getting political, if things stayed that way, might wineries move their operations to Chile, Argentina, and other wine-producing regions outside of the United States if there are still policies being implemented that will hurt wineries in the United States? Who knows?
I would struggle to see how they wouldn't at least have to think about it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that is one of the major economic drivers up here is our lovely wine region and what it takes to do that. And it's very heavily filtered right now.
It would be somewhat akin to banning engineers coming in from other countries in Silicon Valley.
Don't get me in trouble now. Come on.
And for them having to move their operations to Toronto and Montreal and the Czech Republic.
And I will try my best to twist you over to another reason why, like our very first conversation here, bring those roles to the north, remote work from our lovely locations up in the North Bay here, and help those companies keep those roles, help keep your roles. And plenty of people up here need those skills too.
That's
right?
good. That's good. You're trying to keep
me from. I don't want
you're
you to get me
trying
in
to keep
trouble.
me from setting you aflame on a political discussion.
Yeah.
That's okay. I just couldn't help get it out
I
there.
don't blame you.
Very good. So let's shift gears for a moment. What does it look like for employers?
Yeah.
Let's put the employers in two different categories. There's the ones that are prospering.
Yeah.
And the ones that, after years and years of carefully putting together their teams,
Yeah.
have had to disassemble their teams, but maybe we'll have to reassemble those teams. So let's go with the ones that are strong. What's your message for them if they have hiring needs? Because you represent both employers and employees.
Absolutely. It does. Nothing works for us until the two come together, similar to Match.com in that way.
Yeah.
The message would be that for any pain point, any role that you're struggling with, anybody who's just not quite looking or feeling right, give us a call. We're not exclusive. Again, it does not hurt or cost you anything until you like who we have. So, please do reach out. We are constantly seeing those kinds of roles churn as people have to move from and to different jobs. So, we are still finding and placing people in some cases in day. So, looking online at the various adverts or whatever is helpful, but more than ever, people are finding jobs, filling jobs, placing roles so quickly that what you're seeing online might even be out of date. As quick as digital should be fresh.
Quite frankly, let's. We talked. We tried to set the conversation aflame with some politics. Let's talk about LinkedIn, for instance. Okay. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I mean, I like networking. I like reaching out to one's sphere of influence and letting them know that you have a need, whether it's for an employee, for a job, or an employee. I find that works better than LinkedIn.
Absolutely. And they have been in our surveys. We do a survey every year, the Nelson survey, Nelson Trend and Trend and Advisor. Survey, and networking has been number one in terms of finding roles. It is who you know, absolutely. To that end, I can't help but say that being here 50 years, founded up in the North Bay, I tell everybody, think of Nelson and all of us as your largest network. We have been here for 50 years. We know pretty much almost everybody up here in some way or fashion. It's one of my favorite parts of the job when I'm out and about or I do get to meet people or talk on the phone is they almost always have a Nelson story.
Yeah.
Right? When they were younger, they worked with us as staff, or sometimes they've hired through us as the company or the client. So, absolutely right. It's the network. Think of us as your largest network.
Very good. Now, before COVID-19, I'm a kind of a Silicon Valley centric guy. Even though I live in the North Bay, a lot of my clients and my business is in the South Bay. And, we've had a chronic shortage of labor in the greater Bay Area.
Yes.
Is that still the case?
It's a really interesting question. And I can't remember whether Rob faced into the unemployment rate this way. It is absolutely true. I think the last numbers that I saw, December of last year, before this all happened, we had just dipped below 3% unemployment. 2.9.
Right. We were at that number for a long time. And I think
tight.
Napa Sonoma was leading the country in the lowest rate.
We were very low. You don't want to be number one in that statistic, and we were very close, if not number one, depending on when it was measured.
Right.
So very tight.
How's that today?
So to look at the news, the unemployment rate seems like it's very, very high, and there's a lot of problems with that and all the rest. I would say that the practical unemployment rate is still very low. It's still very tight. Even our recruiters who do this full time, a lot of HR people, if they're watching, it's just a part of their job. They've got all the rest of their difficult job to do while they're being in human resources and dealing with their employees and their bosses. But the recruiters who are trying to find people full time, even we are still struggling And it is, we are hearing, because of the $600 top up. It is true. I'm better off at this current situation staying where I'm at. And if you think about it, at least for the people in those kinds of ranges of rate, it's very hard to then suddenly spin up childcare. And can I even do it? They're not going back to school because currently school, or if they are, it's online, and so I still have to watch them, etc. So it's very tough at that level, at least, to get all of those people to come out that we're seeing in the numbers. Right, so at least in the North Bay, no, it's still very tight.
So employers definitely have to sweeten the pot to get people to take a position while still having to deal with homeschooling and telecommuting and whatever else you're dealing with.
Those would be the clients that would win the greater share of people that we're trying to place. Right, I will say that we're still that top up, as I understand it, and I was feverishly trying to look online. I believe the deadline's this month, so a week and days before the current top up would stop. I know that there's various bills and things trying to be passed to extend that. So we may be doing a new video in a few weeks here where that changes or it doesn't. Right, we're right on the precipice of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of clients and staff are waiting to see what happens there. It's so close.
So let's talk a little bit about the construction industry. Do you deal much in the construction industry? Are they hiring? What kind of people are they looking for?
It's a good question. So for Nelson, at least, we tend to avoid the actual construction itself. One of our biggest bills for our staff is workers' comp insurance, and so the risk of a hammer or various accidents, et cetera, kind of lead us away from that. But anything that's office staff related, project management related, the various estimators, those kinds of roles, sales and marketing and HR, absolutely, we can do those. We can do those roles, and we are still seeing them. Not as high as we did, I think, a little while ago, anecdotally, but we are still seeing them.
So if we're looking at the recent history of the North Bay, we had several fires, we had earthquakes, we've had the legislation recently passed for accessory dwelling units, ADUs, junior ADUs. That is a lot of opportunity for construction. Plus, we've had an emergence of factory-built homes, structural concrete insulated panels with zero carbon footprint. It would appear to me that you would have an excess demand for construction, and construction companies would have a bandwidth issue on actually absorbing the number of jobs. Is that something that you've noticed, and how does it translate to Nelson Staffing?
Yeah, in fairness, I don't know that it's something that we've seen, only because we don't tend to hire at the coalface, right? The ones that are doing the actual constructing and everything. So are they being held back by not having enough of them to then need more project managers, to then need more sales and marketing to sell their services out there? So I'm not 100% sure. Personally, I will say that from what it seems to be driving around and talking to people, construction's pretty much where it left off last year, which is super high. There's a lot of it going on. They're, as far as I can tell, just not touting their horn, but it's still going. It's still essential. I think for the shortest time, depending on what you were doing, it was not essential, but we quickly, I think, as I recall, got rid of that, and all construction, I believe, is essential. So that, as far as I know, is still moving.
Well,
crazy.
Let's go there and talk about what I consider to be the paradigm of shifting from non-essential to essential.
Yeah.
Back on March 16th, Gavin Newsom declared the shelter in place. And the reason I remember that date is because no self-respecting Irishman would do a shelter in place before St. Patrick's Day, although that turned out to be actually very good timing.
Yeah.
Because, it would have been worse if everybody was out there. Remember, people were distancing on St. Patrick's Day.
Yes.
The bars were sparse, and anybody in the bar was very separated. But the National Association of Realtors, my group, has 1.4 million realtors in it. The California Association of Realtors has 210,000 members. And we immediately kicked in our governmental affairs staff, engaged the CDC, engaged Washington, D.C., engaged Sacramento, and came up with our own COVID-19 protocols. No minimal in-person showings, no open houses, masks, sanitizers, disclosures, and special arrangements for any in-person showings. Guidelines for in-person showings: no more than a realtor and two people. Encouraging technology, satellite virtual tours, 3D photo galleries, online signatures and contracts. And within days, we were recategorized from non-essential to essential, which is one of the reasons why our members, our local real estate boards, our executive officers, the staffs for our real estate boards, office managers, and practicing realtors have been behaving themselves and complying with those protocols, because we do not want to get a call from Gavin Newsom saying you are not essential anymore. Shame on you. You have been misbehaving, not distancing, not masks, and not following the protocols.
Right.
So, I am delighted about that, and that always deserves a shout out, because if you really think about it, here's another foray into political. If the whole country ran the way realtors are practicing COVID-19 protocols, we would have been out of the soup 2 months ago. So take heart. I know it's hard for people to think, oh my God, I have to emulate realtor behavior in order for us to get out of COVID-19.
Yeah.
But, as a matter of course, pretty much all 1.4 million of our members kind of fell in and have been doing the right thing.
And bringing it back, let me ask you normally ask me the questions, but bringing it back to our very first meeting and first video, and the idea that people can relocate up here and enjoy our lifestyle and still have a good life. Are you seeing similarly the churn, the movement out here that we talked about because of this? Pretty much all the other realtors I talked to are saying it's happening. What is your viewpoint on that?
Thank you very much for that softball, which is more like a beach ball. Thank you for tossing me that.
I figured I owe you at least one.
Thank you. Well, on the one hand, I have noticed a 40% decrease in the number of listings. It's like, who the hell wants to put their house up in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, on first blush. But on second blush, the reality is interest rates are around 3%. San Francisco, Peninsula, Silicon Valley, East Bay employers have basically untethered all their workers from having to come into the office.
Yes.
They've all embraced teleworking. And so now you have a massive move from people workers particularly, moving from more densely populated, more expensive, more infected areas to less densely populated, less infected, more affordable areas. I mean, it is very possible to go from Mountain View, paying $5,000 a month in rent, to go to Fairfield, Solano County, Green Valley, and wind up with a 2,500 square foot house and a $2,000 a month house payment.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's crazy. And despite the fact that the number of transactions I would normally expect to see in the normal course of business is down, the number of transactions that are COVID-19 related, where people are thinking, if I'm going to shelter in place, if I'm going to telecommute, if I'm going to homeschool, this 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 950 square foot apartment at $5,000 a month ain't going to cut it. I am going for a 3,000 square foot house. So that has been the saving grace, and is also creating quite an exodus from San Francisco, the Peninsula, South Bay, East Bay, up to Solano, Napa, Sonoma, Sacramento, YOLO, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
But people still want to be in California.
Yeah.
And they actually still want to be within a couple of hours of their office.
Which we are.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so it's good to hear you're hearing the same thing. And actually, since last talking, I think to all of your lovely watchers, the good news there as well is that not only was I helping with Napa and Sonoma in terms of being able to find the employment side, and then you the house side, but I now also cover that Fairfield Solano area as well in terms of helping to find those different jobs in those roles. So it's so interesting to fast forward for reasons that we don't necessarily love, of course, but to fast forward to now from where we started, that it's here. It's now. It's absolutely real.
That's true.
If there was a time to do it now.
That's true. Well, I moved to Silicon Valley in 1973, and then in 2002 I bought my Napa house. And whereas I live a North Bay, South Bay existence, it pretty much has been living North Bay centric, working South Bay centric, but not exclusive to either one.
Yeah.
And I've been espousing the benefits of moving to less populated areas like the North Bay for 18 years. And now, all of a sudden, in Q1 and 2 of 2020, I have everybody's ear.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we've got the right kinds of answers and conversations for almost any of your watchers and listeners that ready to be next level on this conversation.
Yes. So, in conclusion, give us some words to the wise for employees who need to up their game, who need to really find a better economic situation, a better opportunity, and to employers who need to reassemble their decimated staff or are prospering and suffering from a labor shortage. So if you can give us some final words to the wise on how to contact you, we will conclude our beautiful video blog yet again.
There we go.
Inglenook Winery in Rutherford.
Yes, thank you for hosting us. For staff and associates, don't wait to see what's going to happen with the federal top-up. Get in touch. Let's have a chat. We do not bite. I do not bite. Let's see what's there and available, and that we might be able to entice you with that might be different than you were used to as well. There are plenty of opportunities still there, and so let's have that discussion. And for clients, I wouldn't wait to see whether the unemployment rate and the actual number of people that want to work is gonna change at the end of this month, etc. as well. It's the right time to find out. Whoever's there and looking that we have available for you right now are probably the people that you're really wanting to talk to. If this giant group of unemployment actually then do come back, it'll be very hard to wean your way through all of those people, all of that staff, to find the right one. Right now, the ones that are still wanting to work in this situation are probably the ones that you're wanting to talk to. And so reach out again. We don't bite, and it only hurts when you like who I have.
Very good, very good. And remind us one more time on the best ways to contact you.
Absolutely. My mobile direct, love to talk to y'all, 707-400-9400, or you can email me if you would like, callen, ALLEN, at nelsonstaffing.com.
Very good. Well, Chris, as usual, there were none of those uncomfortable pregnant pauses in our conversation. There never are.
No.
But we did manage to share the airspace pretty good.
Yeah,
thank you very much for tuning in. And yes, I do love these vlogs, but do remember, I am a full-time real estate broker. If you need any help buying, selling, exchanging any real estate, or just need some information, don't hesitate to contact me, 408-829-4141. See you next time.
Everyone.